my stretching routine that I do for my back bends. For those who don't follow me on my personal account, I've been, for the last almost 2 weeks, just posting on my stories my daily progress in my back bends. I've been working on them, just stretching a little bit every day and just seeing how much more I progress. And surprisingly, in my first week, I did pretty good. And so some people had asked, like, what is my stretching routine like? What am I doing to be able to improve my back flexibility? So this is what this video is about, to answer the questions that everyone else asked. I actually don't have, I hit certain stretches regularly, but I don't always do the same thing. It's more like the breakdown, what I do is pretty similar, and it depends on what I'm focusing on. So for the first week, I was mostly working on trying to open up my hip flexors more. I mean, I'm still doing that, and getting a nice, just getting comfortable in it. And this week I've been working more on opening my shoulders more, so I'll show a little bit of all the couple different exercises I do. But the breakdown is basically like this. I'll first do various stretches on each individual hip flexor, then I'll start moving stuff that's sort of just general spine flexibility movement. All of it is very gentle for the most part. I mean, yes, all of it is very gentle and easy on me. I never push myself to the point where it's very tense, or I feel like I'm holding my breath because it's so hard, or I will at least force myself to breathe, to relax into it. And then after I feel like I've gotten a pretty good stretch through my spine, I move into my chest and my shoulders, do a bit of flexibility stuff there. And a lot of the times what I'm doing is I'm also trying to do it like in an active flexibility way, meaning I'm not just pushing to stretch, I'm also very much contracting the opposing muscle to get it to open up more. Yeah, all right, so let's get into it. The first thing, like I said, is I always start with individually stretching each hip individually. So start with like a lunge position. I'm just doing this side first, you can see. I actually just go, because I am so tight where I actually have to start straight up. And so I will just focus on getting this part to open up. I am actively pressing into the floor with my knee and really just trying to stretch open, thinking of reaching everything up toward the ceiling, or just like going in opposite directions. I'm quite tight right now. Then I'll start just leaning back a little bit to stretch that up just a little bit more, wherever I'm comfortable. This is also my weaker leg. Sometimes I'll do both arms up. And if that is too much, I'll just bring both arms to my chest instead, so the center of gravity is closer to my hip. I'll do that. Maybe I should face this way. In the same position, I will reach an arm up and start twisting a little bit, get a little bit of a side stretch, bend it over. Still focusing on this general area. Maybe kick the hip out. If you kick the hip out a little bit, it'll get more of a stretch that way. Sometimes I'll twist a little bit and I'll open up. And then, in the same position, I'll go and reach for my left foot, not my leg, my foot. And press my foot into my hands. Should give you a good quad stretch. Still flexing, oops, pull myself back. Still trying to contract my glute to keep that hip flexor open. Oh, that pulls me back a little bit. At the same time, oh man, I might start to open up my chest a bit. And then I'll sort of scooch my foot forward and lean forward. And while I'm doing this, I have to be very careful, because when I do my splits, and the habit starts here, I start to twist a little bit to take the stretch out of my hip flexor. So I really try to square it up a little bit and really make sure that this body, I'm not twisting open because that's cheating it. I really want to keep it nice and square and feel the stretch in there. Once that feels good, I'll drop the foot, come down, really try to compress into this leg, tuck my neck in, and sometimes, depending on how tight I am, I might feel a bit of a stretch into my hip flexor, piriformis, that whole area. And since I'm down here, I always think I may as well work on my full body stretching anyway, so I will start going to do some split work, but before I actually do the splits, gotta warm up the front hamstring. So I'll drop my leg open, and just sort of get that glute stretched out. Always start easy and then gently go into slightly more of a stretch. So this is feeling good, so I'm gonna start dropping down a little bit. Come back up. Bring that knee back in, push back into more of a front hamstring stretch. And here things will vary depending on which front hamstring you're working and how good it's feeling. I'm not that stretchy today, so I'm just starting very easy. While I'm here, I am trying to keep it in my hamstring. If I curve my back, obviously that's maybe not obvious, but that takes the stretch out almost completely for me. So I will try to flatten my back. I often am thinking about tilting my pelvic bone up, or I'll even do tiny little twerks in this position so I can feel that stretch. But do it nice and easy and slow because you don't want to strain anything. And the goal here isn't to necessarily get closer, it's just to get a deeper stretch here. All right, and then let's start flexing that foot in a little bit. Again, windshield wiper. I am twisting at my hip. Alright, so now I'm gonna go into my split. While I'm doing my split, I'm really trying to do a square split specifically, which compared to the cheerleader splits you'll see, cheerleader splits I usually do on stage, I don't get as flat, but that's fine, right? The whole point is to get this nice and open and more flexible. So sometimes I start up here and again, try to push this foot forward, not twisting open. We're not doing an open split, we're not doing a twisty weird split. If that feels comfortable, I'll scooch back a little bit. Still trying to keep myself upright, really trying to squeeze this glute to open this up more. That's pretty good. Then we do the same thing on the other side. Honestly, I don't do the same exact things on all sides all the time because I have different flexibility and abilities on the various different sides. Like I said earlier, my right hip is my less strong leg, so I need to do some slightly different things with it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. All right, so now I'm gonna do the other hip, but I'll show you some of the other exercises I do on this side. I always start off with this one though, just to see where I'm at, to see how tight it is. This one feels a lot more stable and better than my right leg. Same thing though, always same thing, pressing into the ground, extending at the hip, squeezing my glutes. I'm just gonna go straight over, stretch it out a little bit, kick the hip out if I want to get a deeper stretch in there. Bring it back up. Twist over just to get more of a spine twisty stretch. Open up. All right, and then similar kind of thing where you can go back. You could also do it with a foot straight instead. It's a little bit harder, requires a little more balance. I think it does anyway, but this is also my stronger leg, so it might actually look better. So I'll basically do the same thing. Make it feel like, pretend I'm doing a bridge basically. Nice and easy. Whoops. Trying to keep this hip open and straight. I'll do one more of those. And then I'm gonna go in and grab that foot. This one feels pretty good, so I'm just gonna go straight into that, go straight, I forget what I call this, lunge forward a little bit more, and go straight into deep knee to stretch. Taking advantage of this position to sort of start stretching my upper back and my mid back, and my shoulders and chest. Ooh. Sometimes I'll try to just do some active hamstring work and then slowly let it down. Oh, and then one other thing I've been doing before I do on the other side is I will also do this little twisty thing here sometimes. Just reach back the other foot to the other foot. Sorry, reach back to your foot. And then you start off kind of like a side bend, and then you can kind of gradually open up as much as you can. Ooh. And do the other side. The other side I find to be much harder to do. So I will actually start down like this, put my hand behind me, and then push up. It's gonna be a little twisty, that's okay. And then open up. This one is way tighter. Or untwisting this side is way harder for me. Untwist, and go. All right. And since I forgot to do this, I'm gonna do it now. That's actually a really good stretch. All right, so now you can see, hopefully, or still see it. Again, bringing that same foot, same hand, reaching over, kind of a side stretch, and then open up, go close, and then open, and then close, and open. Wait, and then the other side. So again, I start off seated, put my opposite hand down, and oh, you can see how tight this is. Press forward, and open up, and close, and open up. Sometimes I'll just hang out if it feels decent. Alright, back to the other side. So then coming back up, as if I was doing the pussy thing. Come over, tuck my chin in to stretch. Oops. Tuck my chin in to stretch my forward. This side doesn't feel as tight. I don't know. Since I don't really feel much doing this one, I'm just gonna move on. Drop that foot in. Drop the front knee. Sorry. Drop the front knee down and feel that nice glute stretch. Start to come down a little bit. Again, I'm only going as far as I feel like it's a decent stretch and I can comfortably breathe through it. I don't want to do anything that makes me hold my breath or makes me go like, oh, and is all tight. And that's just not comfortable and is actually counterproductive most of the time to stretching. We want our bodies to feel like it's in control. control in these more extreme positions. All right, coming up, stretch out that front foot. And then posterior tilt, anterior tilt in the pelvis, posterior tilt, anterior tilt. We're trying to stretch that hamstring more. Flexing the front foot, not square. Windshield wiper. This side's usually a little easier to warm up. The second side's always easier to warm up. Alright, and then we're gonna go into the split a little bit for a little bit. Remember, it's a square split. We're trying to do a square split, so as best as we can, keeping this hip facing forward, not twisting open, not twisting your whole leg open or anything. So if you're up here, that's fine. Start here, breathe through it. Stretch, open it more. Okay. And sometimes I'll repeat similar things 1 or 2 more times depending on how much time I've got and just how tight I am. Next thing, we've already done a little bit on the spine as we were doing that. We're gonna do a little bit more. This is more of a spine and a upper body, shoulder kind of thing. I will go onto all fours, put my hands out just a little bit and press my chest into the ground as best as I can, as much as I can, trying to push my shoulders, or my armpits, excuse me, into the floor. And remember, this will be kind of an active flexibility thing, so I'm also like engaging my spine, all the muscles around my spine, trying to get to really create a nice C shape. And pressing my chest more by engaging my back. And then roll out. Do a couple cobras, seal presses, whatever you want, whatever they're called. I don't do yoga. I don't know the words. I'll twist a little bit. There's one stretch you can do that I honestly don't do that much, where you can basically press up, reach back, and try to reach the opposite leg. It's a nice twist. And come back up. Do the other arm, reach up, try to reach the opposite leg, and come back up. Do some twisting basically. And then I'll go back into this. Basically, however long I do is really dependent on how I'm feeling. If I'm really tight that day, I'll spend more time in whatever area I need to spend on. Some cat cows. Cat. Cow. Cat. Little side to side motion. Okay, and then next thing I'll do, hope I sold the camera. I don't know if I answered the camera frame. I'll go put my feet comfortable, maybe like double shoulder width apart. Reach down. First get a nice comfortable hamstring stretch. Shake it out a little bit. Then I'll bring opposite arm to opposite foot. Ooh, that's kind of far. Bring it a little bit. Opposite arm to opposite foot. And I'll twist open. This is another good hamstring and spine stretch. The more you try to compress this way, the more it becomes stretching that one leg and also the opposite side. And we'll switch over. You can start closed if you have to. And try to open up. You can see one side of me is not as good as the other side. Whew. Alright. The next thing I'll do is some more chest, upper, and shoulder stretches. This is probably going to be a little low. We're going to do a double it. So grab a bench or a plyo box or stack up a few mats, whatever you got. We're going to do a similar stretch to what we did earlier with our arms out. And basically, I'm just going to press my shoulders into, as far as I can, into the ground. While I'm doing this, I'm really trying to keep as much of the stretch and flexing in my upper back and my shoulders and my chest. And so to sort of prevent myself from like tilting and going lower because of my lower back instead, I will actually tuck my butt in, tuck my tailbone in, so that I can't really use that part of me as much, and it forces me to try to push through my shoulders more. And the next thing I'll do is I'll stretch each shoulder individually. See if I can explain this while we're doing. Basically, you're gonna have one arm out, and I'm going to be doing the circular motion with it. Right, you can see I'm like kind of pushing out and trying to basically do this motion. But because my arm is locked against the mat, the rotation ends up pushing it through my shoulders. And then so start gentle. This might be a lot for people. If you need support, you can use your arm support, and you can take it off a little bit. And don't forget to go in both directions. And then if that feels good, you can actually use the opposite arm to gently pull. Don't pull too much. That shoulder through and push. All right, and then we'll do the other side. So we're gonna feel it out, see how good today's feeling. All right, that's not too bad. And without it. And then increase it a little bit. I'll do maybe a couple more just for good measure. And this should feel a lot more open after all of that. The next thing I do is I stretch my neck. There are two ways I do this. I'll do it either against the wall or on the floor. When I'm lazy, I do it on the floor. So I'm going to show you on the floor today, but the position is going to be the same. Basically, you're going to be in this position, similar to this position, but you're going to have your arms crossed. So you're going to cross your arms touching your shoulders. You're going to rest your chin on your wrist or your arm wherever they cross. And you're going to be, pushing essentially into your arm to force your neck to flex more or extend more. And remember, you want to be actively doing this. And so engage your neck muscles in the back to help with getting more of an extension. But also be gentle. At least for me, I have a very sensitive and not very flexible neck, so I have to be careful. Make sure you're breathing through it. All right, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to cross my arms and stretch.
Same kind of thing though, you can try to tuck your tailbone in to force more of the extension into your upper back and neck.
And then when you feel good there, make sure you switch how you're crossed so that it's like an even stretch.
And go into it again.
And then shake that out a little bit. So, sometimes what I like to do is I'll do one back bend. I'll see where I'm at. Usually it's not pretty, usually it's not super open, but that gives me an idea of like what other exercises I need to do to loosen up more and open up more. Let's see how that goes. Oh, let me change the video a bit. Center myself. Breathe. Deep breath in.
And go down. Exhale. Oh.
Okay. So, most things were still tight from there. I checked the video and realized, yes, I am quite tight still. Let's see. All right, so that first one, not that pretty compared to where I usually end up, and that's fine. What I like to do next, after that, is do my bridges elevated. So that might be on a bench, that might be on a folded mat. You kind of got to figure out where you're at and what's comfortable. The higher it goes, the harder it is to push, but then the lower it is, the harder it is to extend. So you got to kind of find out where you're at. Sometimes, if I really just want to strengthen my shoulders while I'm in that bridge position, then yes, I'll go higher, right? Because then it puts more of my weight into my shoulders. But if I really don't care, I just want an easier, or I should say that, if I am feeling kind of open enough, then I'll start lower so then I can get more of a stretch and it's less weight on my shoulders when I press. Here, like some push-ups. Sometimes I'll
Move one-handed.
and stretch that shoulder more. Switch it to the other handed. Stretch that shoulder more. Put them both in. Stretch it a lot more. And don't forget to press through your feet and squeeze your glutes. And all of your back. Wait. And then finally, after that, I might do a few of those, and then we'll try the bridge again.